every 2 years when we run for election, most Republicans and Democrats who are in competitive elections run on a variety of issues, but a top issue is always, we're going to reform Albany. Well, this week in the Assembly Legislative Chamber, we had a real opportunity to reform Albany. Members of our caucus, the Republican caucus, the minority caucus, put up some rules changes to change the way we do business for the better here in the Assembly. Every single one of them, common sense. Every single one of them, I bet if you put them on a statewide referendum ballot, would pass. Every single one of them was defeated in a party line vote yesterday, unfortunately. Let me give you a couple of examples. One of these rules changes, and again, this is just for the Assembly. We don't need the governor to sign this. We don't need the Senate to do anything. We, as the Assembly, can improve the way we do business. Unfortunately, yesterday we chose not to. One thing would be term limits for leadership. Do we really need to have another 2-decade-long speaker? You know, the last long-serving speaker accumulated so much power. Not only did he, as a member of the Assembly, accountable only to one neighborhood in Manhattan, have power rivaling the governor, who represents the whole state. Turned out he was corrupt, and he's been convicted of that corruption. Well, it's a lot easier to be corrupt if you're in that position and you accumulate power. So let's fix that. Let's make sure the speaker can't serve more than 8 years. Same thing with the powerful committee chairman. Don't keep people in those positions for so long that they accumulate so much power. Also, every single member of the Assembly, whether Republican or Democrat, represents about 135,000 people. But if you have a D next to your name, there's a much better chance that you're going to get a piece of legislation to the floor to get the up or down vote. What we're saying is, hey, we're duly elected. We have people to represent. At least let us get one of our bills to the floor every term. It's called the SOUL Act, which stands for Single Opportunity for Legislative Equality. You don't have to vote for our bill, but give us one chance every 2 years when we come up here to do our business to get one floor vote on one of our bills. Why not? You want to vote it down? You want to condemn the bill? You want to explain why it's a bad bill? Go for it, but give it a chance to see the light of day. Similarly, there are bills that are wildly popular. The Speaker can keep any bill from the floor, no matter how popular. In the 6 years I've been here, I've seen popular bills with 100 co-sponsors, for example. You only need 76 votes to pass a piece of legislation. If there's 100 co-sponsors, it almost by definition means it has support, it will pass the floor. A single man, in this case, the Speaker, is able to block that. So what we have said is, hey, if you can get 76 co-sponsors, the number of votes you need to pass a piece of legislation, why don't we allow that to get out to the floor and let the people see how members are voting on the floor. Speaking of being able to see, a couple years ago we made a rules change, said we're going to film and record and make available our committee proceedings, committee votes. Most of the action in this place occurs in the committees. Well, we passed that rule. Great, we have a piece of paper that says that's the rule, but we haven't done it yet. Somehow we don't have the technology. Everybody walking around this place has a high-definition video camera they can upload for the world to see. Somehow we haven't figured out a way to videotape the committees. And a lot of things happen in the committees that really matter. Sometimes what happens out here is almost always a fait accompli, and the non-controversial stuff gets out here. But the real important stuff, for example, when I was on the Real Property Committee, we believed we had the votes to take away Madison Square Garden's forever tax exemption. They pay no property taxes on that prime piece of real estate going back 35, 40 years. We had the votes. Madison Square Garden ownership sent lobbyists up here and twisted arms, and something that was going to be defeated in the committee was pulled from the agenda. It was never voted up or down, and there's no record of any of that. If these things were on videotape, you'd have a record. Oh, they just pulled the Madison Square Garden tax exemption bill. So you want to reform Albany, as almost every member of this chamber says they want to. We had the opportunity yesterday. Unfortunately, on a party line vote, Democrats didn't take us up on it. It's a shame, but we're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and getting this message out. You know, we don't need the other house. We don't need the governor to reform our own chamber. We can do it ourselves. I hope we're able to bring these reforms up again soon and get the votes to pass them.